Good morning. It's Friday, November 4th. It is post-Halloween, so hopefully by now we have all gotten over our candy high. Thanks for joining us on Up to the Minute. I'm Randy Ramsey, Executive Director of Southwest Alternate Media Project and HCC Adjunct Faculty. And I am joined by my co-host this morning, Benjamin Escobar. He's an HCCTV filmmaking student and videographer. And we are super excited, Benji. It's the first time we've got to co-host since the summer. So welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Nice to see you again. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell the folks how to find us?
Yeah, you can definitely find us live on Houston Community College District Facebook page, not HCC, but Houston Community College District, and also on YouTube. We're also on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and we have our own TV channel, HCCTV, where you can catch a rebroadcast of this show at noon, 5, and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday.
Well, thank you, Benji. And we have a great show today. Our two guests, coincidentally, both Colombians. We're super excited. Later, our second guest today is History Professor Dr. LaRotta. And Alex, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Great. Thank you for being here today. We super appreciate it. And Benji's going to go ahead and interview you later. So you mind hanging out for a little bit?
Sounds great.
Perfect. First, for Film Friday, one of our HCC communications team is the subject of the documentary short Undocumented, A Dream of Education. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Diana Barrero-Burgos, our Director of Communications for HCC Southeast. Thank you for joining us today, Diana, to talk about such an important topic and a great documentary, by the way.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here, not as a co-host, but actually as the subject of an incredible journey that I've gone through. So I'm so happy to share it with all of you.
That's right, because you've been a co-host here before.
That's right.
I haven't gotten to host with you. I'll have to talk to Todd about that.
Sooner than later, I'm sure.
Yes. So you've been getting a lot of fanfare for the film, which we'll get into a little bit more later. But first, this is your personal story, right?
That is correct. This is my personal journey as an undocumented immigrant coming to the United States from a country that is very beautiful, don't get me wrong, but was in turmoil. And my family felt the need of leaving the country and finding an opportunity somewhere else. And that happened to be the United States of America.
Wow. So how old were you when you came from Colombia?
9 years old.
Wow. That must have been hard.
It was, because I didn't speak the language. The culture shock was tremendous. And what's sad is that at that time, when I came to this country, we kind of had to live in the shadows. So we didn't know really the culture. We didn't know exactly where to go. We were at the mercy of so many people, but when there's a will, there's a way. So we were able to triumph, and here I am.
So what did Elisa Herman, the director, who's from Brazil, did she come to you, or did you guys meet together? How did this labor of love get started? Okay,
so this is a fabulous story, and thank you so much for asking that. Elisa Herman, she is from Brazil. She is my colleague, my sister at heart. She is the Associate Professor of Mass Communication in the Film Department at Sam Houston State University. And her and I, we are doctoral candidates in the Higher Education Leadership Program at Sam Houston. And so this is all kind of started as a homework assignment a year ago in a summer class that we were taking together. And it was an opportunity to be creative and really showcase the struggles of the immigrant population, not only in Houston, in Texas, but we're talking about nationwide and all over the world, if you think about it, because immigration happens not just in this country, it happens all over the world. Mm-hmm. So this was a perfect opportunity to be innovative and really showcase what we as humans can do.
Well, I know as a filmmaking professor, I'm always telling students the most important tool, the most important gift they have is their voice and their own personal stories. So how much did it mean to you to be able to tell this story in a way that you controlled instead of having to live in a narrative created by somebody else?
It was very important. I believe in research. I am a researcher at heart. And I didn't know there was an opportunity to do art-based research, which really kind of opens up the opportunity to storytell and have people understand what it means to be in somebody else's shoes, to be able to relate, to be able to say, if she could do it, I can do it. And being able to control the narrative was very important to me because it is a very delicate topic and not a lot of people are willing to share. But I felt that my story could help so many people feel that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always hope. And that's the last thing that you should lose, the hope and the willingness to keep on going, regardless of the barriers that you have out there. Telling people's story is a way of show resiliency as well. And that's something that here at HCC, we are talking about. How can we can have our students be resilient and continue to look forward to meeting their goals. And so that was the purpose of this film. And I'm glad that is getting the traction and the actually the admiration that it really deserves.
I hear you've been doing the festival circuit and it's been doing really well. You had a big win in Tampa, right?
We did. I am so excited. Elisa and I got the Best Film Award at Tampa Bay Latin International Film Festival. And that was one of our biggest honors. We've also been accepted into the iImmigrant Film Festival in Burbank, California. All That Moves International Film Festival at Sao Paulo, Brazil. I don't think we'll be able to go to Brazil anytime soon, but just being awarded there, that was also very cool. And then we also got into the Newark International Film Festival.
Nice. And you've been going to as many of these as you could?
Yes, absolutely. Every time we can. As a matter of fact, there is a convention, I believe it's the National Association Communication Convention in New Orleans, that is going to be November 17th, and I'm going to be presenting there. And I just came back from Reno and presenting in another conference. So it's been an incredible experience, because having to speak on behalf of many immigrants that don't have a voice is just so powerful. And me being able to speak for them is just a dream come true.
Well, so is this it for your filmmaking career, or does this spark a bug in you?
Oh my goodness. I think I'm just barely getting started. I think this is going to be much more for me and from Elisa. We work very well together. And again, we're in the same cohort, the same doctoral degree. So I don't think this is the end. This is just the beginning.
Well, we're so excited. You know, Swamp is a huge supporter of documentary filmmaking. So, the next time you've got something going on, let us know. We're super excited.
Oh, absolutely. And I just wanted to let you know that our chancellor, Dr. Cesar Maldonado, has looked at the film, and he's very anxious and so excited to get it presented here at HCC. So be looking forward to hearing about the film, and we're probably going to be doing some talks. So it's going to be great and a great opportunity to have our students be involved, faculty and staff.
I was going to offer to have Swamp do a screening here in Houston for you.
Oh, great.
We screen films all the time. So we'll talk about that offline. But I wanted to ask you, as a student, somebody who's a doctoral candidate, as somebody who's now an educator, you see our students. We have a huge immigrant population here at HCC. What is the best tip, the best piece of advice? If you could give them one piece of advice, what would it be?
Keep on going. Education is forever. Nobody can take your education away from you. And I think that's what I took from being in the shadows, like I said before, and not knowing what was going to happen to me, not knowing if my parents were going to come back home, because there were raids happening all the time. And so I knew that something that nobody could take away from me, no one, was my education. And I strive to be the best. I strive to always get just stronger because I knew that education was going to get me to where I needed to be. And it was really the fundamental fact that it was through my research at a very early age that I was able to find certain ways for me to be able to get my citizenship.
Wow. Thank you so much, Diana, for being on the show, but also thank you for sharing your story, because it's so important and so inspiring, and not just for folks who are immigrants, but also for anybody who's faced a set of challenges and needed to overcome. It's, a great story of perseverance and persistence and just keeping on. So I really appreciate you, and I hope that we'll see you again really soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Diana Barrero-Burgos, Director of Communications for HCC Southeast. I have to get the title in there. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
I appreciate you guys so much. Benji, on to you. We're going to move on to Dr. Alex LaRotta.
Yes, we have, like you said, Dr. Alex LaRotta, a U.S. and Mexican-American history professor at HCC Central. Welcome to the show, Dr. LaRotta.
Thanks for having me. It's very nice to meet you, and I'm glad to be back here. How's it going?
And thank you for being here. And this is a great topic, especially because me and my brother are actually musicians, and we kind of know the scene around here in Houston, how some stuff have developed. But I would like to listen more about it. But so before we get into your book and the music you're studying, tell us about your classes as well as the speakers committee and your department.
Cool. Yeah, thanks. By the way, you will have to tell me about your musicianship. I'd love to know more about that. So I teach full time at the central location there in Midtown. I also teach online classes. So I teach the U.S. History Survey courses, which are U.S. History 1301 and U.S. History 1302. My field is a little bit more in the wheelhouse of kind of contemporary U.S. history. And as you mentioned, I also do Mexican-American history, which for those that are listening, we're trying to build those classes up. So we're trying to kind of tap into our student body and let them know about these great courses that we have in kind of ethnic histories of the United States. And I also kind of like to weave those into the broader narrative that I teach in my U.S. history courses. So I'll do some Native American history, Mexican American, African American, various social histories that I think are very important to sort of highlight in the broader sort of story of U.S. history. So those are some of the courses I teach. I absolutely love doing it. This is actually my second year here at Houston Community College, and I'm a native Houstonian. So I was actually across the street, I should say, from the Midtown campus getting my doctoral degree at University of Houston. And so, while the focus of the book is on music in San Antonio and South Texas, I've also done cultural histories, oral histories on Houston as well. So kind of like and really enjoy local and regional histories in terms of the things I like to pursue.
Yeah. And tell us about how music plays a part in what you teach, because I know you're teaching about the history and about this stuff, but does music take a part in the history as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe I could just talk a little bit about this book in progress that I have, it's born out of my dissertation project, which was an oral history of this music genre from San Antonio, Texas, which is about Tejano music, rhythm and blues, and sort of the amalgamation, sort of this hybrid sound that emanated from San Antonio in the middle 20th century. I kind of tapped into this, and this is a common question that I get is, are you a musician? And I sadly have to admit, no, but I try to aspire as close to music as I can, because it just really runs through my veins. I think you might have mentioned that I'm of Colombian heritage. So my family's from Colombia. Music is a very big part of our livelihood, of our culture. Mm-hmm. And so it's fair to say that I just kind of grew up with it. I've always had an affinity for it. So when I was thinking about graduate studies, I thought about Latino music specifically, and thinking about that as a lens on history. Oftentimes cultural historians will kind of look at various aspects of communities and their cultures, but music within the discipline of history hasn't been treated very seriously, and I should say popular music. Mm-hmm. And so I've kind of taken the lens on the recording music industry itself. So looking at the Mexican-American recording industry, there's not very much literature on that, yet I think it's a very important aspect of Mexican-American history. So that's kind of one of the themes, I should say, in the book. but also looking at independent recordings, highlighting Latinas, for example, in the making of rock and roll music and doo-wop music and so forth. And I have some great oral histories on that. So it just kind of comes from my own interest in the music, but also kind of as a Latino, also interested in sort of highlighting kind of our cultural histories and these kind of broader national histories.
Yeah. Well, like you were just saying, this is the type of stuff that gets me excited, because me being Latino in this country and, having an interest in music, sometimes, like you said, there's no literature about how this stuff even came up to be. Like there's, like here in Houston in the music scene, way back, we heard that Cornelio Reina and Ramon Ayala, they had their scene here in Edo, Houston, but you don't hear much about that. So I don't know, there's just, they lived here and that's it. That's all you hear. But, let me get away from that topic, but let's keep talking about this. I understand that you're working with Duke on your book about San Antonio music. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. So I had the recent great fortune to sign my first book contract. So I'm very excited with that. That's with Duke University Press. And like I said, it's kind of about this music genre from San Antonio, but I also describe it to people as a social history of San Antonio about this particular music genre called the West Side Sound. And so again, sort of building on oral histories, looking at discographical information, like who did what recordings when, and then inserting that like local sound into what you were talking about, into a broader kind of history, like intervening into popularized or understood histories of rock and roll music, which are kind of mostly predicated on like a kind of a black and white racial analysis. And Latinos and other kind of minority groups or other groups in the United States generally aren't kind of seen within that broader narrative. And so it's an opportunity to kind of highlight Latinos in the making of rock and roll music. So it's about San Antonio as much as it is kind of a broader history, even a transnational history. So part of it kind of goes across the border into Mexico and kind of looking at pop culture in the Texas-Mexican borderlands. And so, again, like I said, it's kind of born out of, when it comes to the primary sources, some of the very recordings that for many years prior to me becoming an instructor at Houston Community College, I also identified as a record collector, still do, and as a DJ, a vinyl DJ. And so those things sort of came together where as a collector, I would look for what you're talking about, music from Houston, where there's like Música Tejana or African-American R&B and blues music, which our city has such a great and wonderful, rich tradition. And it was just kind of a natural curiosity into those things that got weaved into my pursuit for graduate studies, and then this book, and then here I am talking to you about this project. So it was sort of an organic sort of process, but mostly just out of just my interest in sort of learning more about it and wanting to spread and share that information with others.
And this is just me being curious, but do you have any specific bands or any known names that you're including in the book that you talk about?
Yes, that's a very good question, because people are like, well, tell me about some of the bands. So I would say one of the probably most well-known bands of this kind of era is Sir Douglas Quintet or Doug Somm, who is sort of the singer of that particular group, and the Texas Tornadoes, which if you know a little bit about Texas Mexican music, which clearly you do, or those that are listening, the Texas Tornadoes were something of a super group of Texas Mexican musicians that really kind of, when Tejano music was at its heights to some degree in the middle 1990s, this group was sort of born out of San Antonio and is very much kind of an expression of those root sounds that I was sort of talking about before. So again, whether it's the Tornadoes, the Sir Douglas Quintet, even Selena Quintanilla, her not specifically, although her very first recordings were from San Antonio. And some of these early studios that I sort of document in this project were in fact the very studios where Selena and Los Dinos, the kind of the queen of Tejano, where she got her start kind of recording in the San Antonio music industry. So it's about that kind of prior generation, but those are some of the most well-known groups. Sonny and the Sunliners, they hit the top 40 a few times in the middle 1960s.
And so also you were mentioning also like women earlier in the music and everything. You mentioned also here in my question that I have, you mentioned Tejana, and how did this develop music for women musicians?
Yeah, that's a great question. Oftentimes when it comes to, again, sort of the discourses on music history, where it is sort of, for example, rock and roll music, if you read that literature, and, you know, we were referring to that earlier, women, generally speaking, are not kind of really found in those narratives. What I was finding when I was coming to pop music, the developments of rock and roll music that was kind of mixing with Tejano sounds in San Antonio, that there were all Latina doo-wop groups that were right there at the very beginnings. And so it was an exciting development to highlight something I think we kind of have an intuition about. We have an understanding that, of course, women were participating in popular music, but also understanding the social history of that time period wherein Mexican-American women were limited by their expectations of gender, gender norms, specifically within Mexican and Mexican-American communities, placed these very kind of specific limitations upon women and participating in these types of activities. The oral histories that I was able to do with some of these women reflected those very themes. And so it was important to acknowledge that a few generations ago, these kind of limitations for peoples in their gender spheres kind of responds to what we know and understand about popular music in that time period. So the oral histories, as such an important part of the sources that I use, kind of highlight that. And so I was able to find your question, what I have established is what I believe to be, from my research, the very first Latina rock and roll group in U.S. history from San Antonio, Texas, recording as early as the late 1950s, which is pretty early for an all Latina group. So it's an exciting development. We're going to learn a little bit more about not just San Antonio, but again, these are traditions and national pop music at this time period.
Awesome. And we can find this in your book once it comes out, or is it out already?
It's in progress, so not out yet. But yeah, it's with an academic press, so it can be a little bit more of a kind of a rigorous process. And so there's a little, there's some kind of, there's some things I have to kind of go through, but in any case, it's in progress, but I'll definitely notify you guys once it comes out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Just stay on the look for that, folks. Whoever's watching, everybody's interested. I'm definitely going to be out on the look for that. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Alex LaRotta, U.S. and Mexican-American history professor, and we'll have all of your info on our post after the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for being here. What a pleasure.
Thank you.
Okay, Benji, good job. How fun. I can't wait to hear the book. Also, he brought me back to a lot of nights along the oh gosh, it's not the river. You know, the thing in San Antonio, the Riverwalk.
The Riverwalk. Yes.
Yeah, lots of nights on the Riverwalk listening to music, which is great. Just the best because that's where my in-laws live. So cool. Awesome. I just had a moment, like there was like a little menopausal brain. There it goes. So we have some announcements, and some of them are great and involve some of our faculty and our students. So we're super excited about Dance Nation tonight and tomorrow at HCC Central in Theater 1. Reservations are encouraged, but tickets are free, which is super exciting. So we had Michael Flanagan on like last week talking about it. Sounds like a great show. So if you can make it, go down. We'll have the information in the post after the show.
Yeah. And Hurricane Ian Food Drive by HCC Psychology Club. HCC Psychology Department will collect non-perishable food items in the major entrances and auditorium areas of several campuses. Psi Beta and Psi Kappa, the student organizations will donate them to Houston Food Bank. This will take place Wednesday, November the 9th from 10:30 a.m. to 12:30 at the HCC Central, A-Leaf, Stafford, and Northline campuses. Contact Dr. Genevieve Stevens, whose email will be on our post after the show.
That's a great cause. Also, we have a professional development training, which is super exciting for me. Apparently, everything is super exciting for me this morning. That's just how I'm rolling today. Maybe highly caffeinated. DEI officer Dr. Donna Davis is hosting the second annual professional training and certificate series with morning and afternoon sessions. The one coming up on Monday, November 15th is anti-racism, a cross-cultural dialogue. There's a morning session from 10:30 to noon, an afternoon session from 2:30 to 4, both on November 15th via WebEx, and we'll have a post for it after the show.
Okay. And then HCC's Reading Culture Contest features Ecuador. Students looking for a chance to win a scholarship while learning about a new culture can check out Ecuador and the inheritance of the Orquídea Divina. 3 scholarships available with the grand prize of $1,000, outstanding essay, $500 for outstanding project. And these projects are due November 28th. You can check our post after the show for the link for more details.
Okay. Most exciting of all, Salon Services are back at some campuses. Woohoo! Southeast and North Line. Salon Services, Tuesdays only, so you can call or walk in, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tuesdays, Southeast and North Line campuses. Super exciting. Look for the number in our post after the show. And last but never least, spring registration opens Monday. We have 5 ways to learn. 2 of them are online, 2 of them are in person, and 1 is a hybrid that combines both. Absolutely. Do we have the way that you need to learn available to you? Yes, we do. Register Monday for the spring semester. And on Monday, Mental Health Monday, and the first Monday of November, Dr. Sean Fitzpatrick of the Jung Center returns for his regular visit, much needed as always. And for Music Monday, the first one we've had in a while, they have a real treat coming up. I won't be there, but Todd will be back. Mm-hmm. I know you'll miss me. My Dolls, from Days Gone By will join Todd, and he is super excited for that. I know that he can't wait. So Benji, thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you again next time. And everybody have a great weekend and stop eating that Halloween candy. Just not going to get any better.